trial and the nature of celebrity. Watching a video of Kato Kalin testifying, and it was apparently just broadcast live on court TV, and I think the whole trial was actually, and it just seemed completely ridiculous that would be the case. So we're going to be researching that and looking for information about that. But first, rider mail. This rider mail comes from the 321 area code. Oh, that's the Space Coast. This rider says, "Hi, it's Summer. Hello, Summer. From the Space Toast, 5 her." Space Toast sounds delicious. I would eat that. You mentioned great last time Indiana, time Arkansas. I hear older. Fine, light rap music more and more. What far your feelings on rat coke? You or doing well and good, John. So this, oh, that's apparently John Summer. Okay, I misgendered you, John. Rat coke is probably just as good as regular coke. I'm guessing they don't, like, sell shitty coke to the rats. And if they do, then I'll be the first to sign the petition to stop it. Alright, let's get into it.
Center Station, Dublin, Pleasanton train.
Let's look for Kato Kalin. Kato Kalin. Oh, here's an attractive guy. Was he in movies? I think he might have been in movies. Was he in Basketball? According to this, he was in Basketball. How do I find the cast of Basketball? Thanks, Google. I'm looking at a bunch of people. Oh yeah, Kato Kalin was the driveway announcer. Oh, he's a radio personality, according to this. Alright, why don't I just look this guy up in Wikipedia instead of, like, guessing at Google's headers. Kato Kalin. Brian Gerard Kato Kalin is an American radio and television personality who gained fame as a witness during the 1994 to 1995 murder trial of O.J. Simpson. Kalin was nicknamed Kato as a child after the character played by Bruce Lee in the television series The Green Hornet. He graduated from Nicollet High School, attended but never graduated from the University of Wisconsin Eau Claire. He had a talk show, Kato and Friends, and hosted the game show on campus television station TV10. Oh, he moved to Hollywood because he was an aspiring actor. Kalin was best friends with actor-comedian Norm Macdonald. Oh man, someone almost sat next to me and heard I was talking to myself. That's pretty good. And then walked away instead. Was best friends with actor-comedian Norm Macdonald from mid-2000 to mid-2001, according to McDonald's and The Norm Show co-star Artie Lang. Kalin was even given a guest role on the show. The two had a falling out, which ended their friendship. He was married to Cynthia Coulter from 1983 to 1989. They have one child. Kalin came to notice for his role as a minor witness for the prosecution in the 1995 trial of O.J. Simpson for the murders of Simpson's ex-wife Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman. In 1994, Kalin was staying in a guest house on the Simpson property and was present at the compound on the night of the two murders on June 12th. Thus, he witnessed some of Simpson's movements before and after the time of the murders. Kalin's story seemed to contradict Simpson's version of the events on some key points, as Kalin testified that he could not account for Simpson's whereabouts between 9:36 p.m. and 11 p.m. on the evening of the murders. On the evening murders took place, which the prosecution alleged occurred between 10 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. However, his sarcastic rambling and inconsistent testimony over 4 days made him a less than ideal witness. Prosecutor Marcia Clark. Wasn't Marcia Clark a DJ on MTV? That's what I remember anyway. Let's just assume she was. Prosecutor Marcia Clark had him declared a hostile witness. What is a hostile witness?
They're having us get there tomorrow at 10.
A hostile witness, otherwise known as an adverse witness or an unfavorable witness, is a witness at trial whose testimony on direct examination is either openly antagonistic or appears to be contrary to the legal position of the party who called the witness.
Seelig or a puppet of Seelig?
Interesting.
He's definitely a puppet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, remember?
And That shot clock or that
Simpson's children reportedly mocked Kalin as a freeloader. Kalin received considerable media attention following his testimony. He was the subject of jokes by TV comedians who made light of his surfer persona, lack of employment, and allegedly parasitic habits. After Nick Simpson was acquitted, the tabloid National Examiner published a cover story declaring cops think Kato did it, featuring a photo of Kalin shirtless. Kalin sued the publisher Globe Communications for libel. A federal trial judge dismissed the case, saying the story was not libelous or malicious. However, Kalin appealed and that decision was reversed. The appeals court's ruling stated, "We hold that reasonable jurors could find that clear and convincing evidence established 1. The front page headline falsely insinuated that the police had believed that Kalin committed the murders, and 2. The false insinuation was not necessarily cured by subheading or by the non-defamatory story about Kalin that appeared 17 pages away. We also hold that Kalin produced sufficiently clear and convincing evidence of the newspaper's knowledge of the falsity or reckless disregard for the truth of its headline to defeat the motion for summary judgment." The decision was a landmark case in libel law, finding that a headline could be considered libel. That seems like it should have been the case already. Kalin later settled with Globe Communications out of court. Prior to his involvement in the O.J. Simpson trial, he was in an early 1990s movie called Beach Fever, in which his character created a love potion with his friend and hit on girls at the beach. He also starred in the low-budget horror movie Night Shadow in 1989 and had a minor role in National Lampoon's Dorm Days 2, 2006. Kalin appeared on the first episode of the Fox sketch comedy Mad TV, October 95, and made a cameo appearance on the HBO sketch comedy Mr. Show with Bob and David during the show's first season, November 95. In the episode titled "We Regret to Inform You," she shows up at lobotomized actor Borden Grote's party. After the Simpson trial, Kalin made numerous forays into reality television. He was in the 2002 series Celebrity Boot Camp. In 2004, he participated in the development of a 2004 reality show called House Guest, in which he would live in the other celebrities' homes. That show never aired. He was seen on an episode of the E! reality series Sunset Tan, asking specifically for a farmer's tan. He was also a guest player on the 6th episode of the Comedy Central series Reality Bites Back. In 2008, he was a contestant on the Fox reality channel show Gimme My Reality Show, in which minor celebrities competed to receive their own reality show. Okay, they apparently, they've already hit recursion levels in 2008. That's 7 years ago, so it's completely jumped the shark. He has also participated in game shows. He appeared on the NBC version of The Weakest Link, and was infamously remembered for answering Alcoholics Anonymous to a question about the Boy Scouts. He was a contestant on the game show Russian Roulette, as well as the reality dating show Bzz with host Annie Wood. In 2005, Kalin appeared on the first 3 National Lampoon strip poker pay-per-view programs. Kalin is an avid poker player. The titles were filmed at Hedonism 2, a naturist resort in Negril, Jamaica, which led Kalin to quip, "The first few days there were the hardest." The Playboy Bunnies, WWE divas, and pin-up models competing in no-limit Texas Hold'em games, and upon losing all their chips and clothes, had to dive into the pool of shame and visit Kato's guest house, where Kalin would interview the new defeated players. Kato also appeared in numerous comedic skits. He has also worked as a host on television and radio. For a short time in 1995, he worked as a radio talk host on KLSX in Los Angeles and provided online content for National Lampoon. From June 2005 to sometime in 2006, Kalin co-hosted An Eye for an Eye, a daytime TV court show syndicated in 34 countries. Kalin is a recurring guest on the video game review show X-Play. In February 2005, Kalin guest starred in the web series Starving and the movie Whacked. Recently, Kato was seen on the show Tosh.0, parodying the Keyboard Cat video table Keyboard Kato, titled Keyboard Kato. In 2010, Kalin appeared on Real Time with Bill Maher, wearing a wig to play his younger self, and a taped skit parodying 1990s television appearances by 2010 U.S. Senate candidate Christine O'Donnell. Kalin briefly made national headlines again when he complained he never told the New York Post columnist Cindy Adams that O.J. Simpson definitely killed his wife. Kato said he has expressed his opinion before that he thinks Simpson did it, but I have no first-hand knowledge. So that was just a list of everything this guy's done in his life.
I wanted to see her. She didn't care about mom.
Yeah, so when I saw this video, I saw this 15-minute video of his testimony, and he's definitely, I could see why he became, like, if this guy was on television repeatedly all year, I could see why he became a minor celebrity, because he is, very charming and attractive. And same thing for the lawyers involved, because, I mean, what they were doing is very theatrical. But what I'm curious about is, did we in fact stop broadcasting trials on TV? Because I remember that happening a lot in the early 90s and not happening a lot since. So let's see if we can figure that out. Broadcasting trials on TV. Courtroom photography and broadcasting. Perfect. Courtroom photographing and broadcasting is permitted in some courtrooms and in others. Some argue that the use of media during courtroom proceedings is a mockery of the judicial system. The presence of cameras can create fallacious information that can damage the reputation for courts. Okay. Federal Rule of Criminal Procedure 53 states, except as otherwise provided by statute or these rules, the court must not permit the taking of photographs in the courtroom during judicial proceedings or the broadcasting of judicial proceedings from the courtroom. Some federal courtrooms experimented with cameras from 1991 to 1994. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That it really feels like of a very specific era. And here's a reference. This link to the reference is completely out of date and is now a link to an entirely different story. So that's not helpful. The courts have thus far been unwilling to overturn the ban on cameras, citing concerns with the expenditure of judicial time on administration and oversight of broadcasting, the necessity of sequestering juries so they will not look at the television program or the trial itself, the difficulty in impaneling an impartial jury in the case of a retrial, the necessity of larger jury panels or increased use of marshals, the psychological effects on witnesses, jurors, lawyers, and judges, and related considerations of solemnity, dignity, and the like. Justice David Souter said, "The day you see a camera come into our courtroom, it's going to roll over my dead body." The Sunshine in the Courtroom Act, introduced by Charles Grassley, would authorize the presiding judge of a U.S. appellate court or U.S. district court to permit the photographing, electronic recording, broadcasting, or televising to the public court proceedings over that which the judge presides. Right, Sunshine in the Courtroom is a bill to allow the broadcasting of U.S. District Court and U.S. Court of Appeals proceedings. The name of the bill is an apparent reference to Louis Brandeis' remark that the sunshine is the best disinfectant for ill doings. The proposed act relates to Federal Rule of Criminal Procedure 43, except as otherwise stated by these. The bill was introduced in 2005, 2007, 2008, 2009. 2009, the bill was approved by a Senate Judiciary Committee.
West Oakland Station is a Dublin Pleasanton train.
Poe also opined that the lawyers played to the jury, not to the camera, and the jurors stated they liked the camera inside the courtroom because they wanted the public to know what they heard, instead of waiting to hear a 30-second soundbite from a newscaster who may or may not have the facts correct. Judge John Tunheim opposed the bill, stating that it could deny some defendants a fair trial. The defendant corporation might forego its right to a trial because it does not want its president to be cross-examined on television. He also expressed concern that televising trials could increase incidents of threats against federal judges.
It's just us? No, Pat's over here. Back here.
No, it's a Rosie.
Hi, Pat.
Daniel M. Kalki argues that televising trials can distort the truth-seeking process of a criminal trial and chill witnesses' willingness to cooperate. That televising trials interferes with the privacy of victims, witnesses, and defendants. that the decision whether to televise trials does not lend itself to a case-by-case determination, and that televising trials can be transformed into a form of entertainment which can undermine the dignity of and respect for our judicial institutions. Brian Goebel counter-argues that there is no evidence to support claims that cameras have any greater psychological effect than a packed courtroom of strangers, or that cameras undermine truthful testimony. It has been pointed out that inasmuch as no trial can be reproduced in laboratory conditions, scientific experimentation is not possible, as we have no empirical data on the effect of television on a criminal trial. It has been argued that because the majority of Americans have had no personal experience with the legal system, and because the majority of Americans get their information from the world solely from television, the portrayal of justice on television is extremely important to the continued viability of the legal system and the individual's understanding of that system. Senator Charles Schumer argued the courts are an important part of our government, and the more our government institutions are shown to the public, the more dignified they become, and the more public close understand them. Allowing cameras into our courtrooms will help demystify them and let the public evaluate how well the system works. Justice Otto Moore in the Colorado Supreme Court opined in 1956, "Do we hear complaints that the employment of these modern devices of the thought transmission in the pulpits of our great churches destroys the dignity of the service, that they degrade the pulpit or create misconceptions in the mind of the public? The answers are obvious. That which is carried out with dignity will not become undignified because more people may be permitted to see and hear." William O. Douglas argued that televising trials should not be allowed because the press can use it to pressure judges to decide a case a certain way, particularly in jurisdictions where judges are elected. In reference to the argument that cameras make witnesses nervous, former jurist Louis Gohmert said, "I think nervousness is a good thing. Nervousness is a good thing in a witness. It makes potential inaccuracies come to light and easier to observe." He responded to the argument that cameras make witnesses more reluctant to testify by saying there is a thing called a subpoena, and noting that he found that if people are not willing to come to court and they are reluctant to testify, officers with handcuffs and guns are very helpful. And this guy sounds like an asshole. Again, this is a Wikipedia page that doesn't really have any. Yeah, okay. At the top it says this page has some issues. That sounds about right.
But he didn't say, look at the lecture, you know. If I wanted to, I could have pulled him, but I was
yeah, they got some major track stuff.
Yeah, I don't like it when
In congressional testimony, Ted Poe stated, "When I was assistant district attorney, I spent my career trying criminal cases, and based on my experiences, I actually feel the cameras in the courtroom benefit a defendant. A public trial ensures fairness. That is the purpose of a public trial. It ensures professionalism by the lawyers and the judge, and a camera in the courtroom protects the defendant's right to a public trial." Poe also opined that lawyers play to the jury, not to the camera, and the jurors stated they liked the camera inside the courtroom because they wanted the public to know what they heard. Okay, I apparently already read this.
I said, do you want to pay $250? So you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking we're not going to have as many.
There's a debate over televising the Supreme Court proceedings. The court has never allowed cameras in its courtroom, but it does make audio tapes of oral arguments and opinions available for the public. In 2009, Pennsylvania Senator Arlen Specter and 7 co-sponsors introduced a resolution to express the sense of Congress that sessions of the court should be televised. In 2009, Specter also introduced a bill that would require open sessions of the court to be televised.
Where did you get on board today?
Ted Poe introduced a related bill in the House of Representatives in January 2009. The only exception to televising the court under this legislation would be if a majority of justices decided that allowing such coverage in a particular case would violate the due process right of any of the parties involved. Upon introducing this bill to require televising the Supreme Court of the United States proceedings, Arlen Specter announced, "The Supreme Court makes pronouncements on the constitutional and federal law that have direct impact on the rights of Americans. Those rights would be substantially enhanced by televising these oral arguments of the court so that people can see and hear the issues presented." Supporters of Specter's proposal reason that other government proceedings are already televised, including sessions of the House and Representatives and the Senate, covered most frequently by C-SPAN. By televising the court, they argue that Americans would have more access to the most important institution in the U.S. judiciary, which would result in a more open and transparent government. Chris Peabody at Fairleigh Dickinson University contends that televising the Supreme Court of the United States proceedings can change the way Americans view public policy by bringing greater attention to the court. The 2010 New York Times editorial states that public access to the court would give Americans the opportunity to get a closer look at how a powerful branch of government operates. It adds that televising the court would hold presidents accountable for the justices they nominate. The editorial reasons right now we see the justices during the confirmation hearings and rarely after that. During her confirmation hearing in 2009, Justice Sonia Sotomayor indicated that she is open to the idea of televising court proceedings, stating, "I have had positive experiences with cameras. When I have been asked to join experiments using cameras in the courtroom I have participated, I have volunteered." U.S. senators who co-sponsored Specter's resolution, who are therefore on record as favoring televising court proceedings, including, here's a list. Specter's proposal believed that requiring the proceedings of the Supreme Court of the United States to be televised is a threat to judicial independence and thus the separation of powers. In addition, several justices of the court have objected to the proposed legislation, including Justice Anthony Kennedy, who argues that the measure would not allow in line with the etiquette and deference that should apply between branches, and deference that should apply between branches. Furthermore, some justices believe televising proceedings would change the way they act in the courtroom. Justice Clarence Thomas also contends that televising court proceedings would reduce the level of anonymity that justices now have and raise security concerns. And it's also believed that television coverage would also take away from the mystery of the court and cause the public to... the mystery is such a high priority. The public to misinterpret the court and its processes. Scholars also have considered the constitutionality of televising the Supreme Court. And there's 4 links, but no actual information. A public mind poll found a national poll that more than 60% of voters think that televising the Supreme Court of the United States proceedings would be good for democracy. 26% think that televising the proceedings would undermine the authority of the court. Voters have mixed opinions on the effect of television coverage on court decisions. While 45% say that televising court proceedings would be good because the judges would consider public opinion more in making decisions, 31% say that they would be bad because judges would be considered public opinion too much. 5% say they are not sure or say that televising the court would have no effect on its legal decisions. While a majority of voters presently watching government proceedings frequently, if at all, half of voters say they would watch the Supreme Court of the United States proceedings sometimes or regularly if they were televised. Only 10% they'd say they'd never watch the court. Oh, and here we are.
Fruitvale Station, double positive.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Train That Dog. I will see you again next week.